To be honest, I've been super impressed with the Team Corally Kagama4. This is a 1/8 scale electric 4-wheel drive Truggy 4S capable. It's been on the market for a few months now. Retails for $419 here in the US, although you can frequently get coupons off at the main distributor or whatever, usually like 30 bucks off. So definitely comes in a little bit cheaper than that normally. I've been driving it, bashing it, and want to share my thoughts on this monster Truggy. The way the review works is we go through 6 different categories, giving a rating from 1 to 5 stars, and it's graded on a curve. What that means is if it's average within its class, the 1/8 scale electric 4S monster Truggy or monster truck class gets 3 stars. If it's best in class, it gets 5 stars. If it's worst in class, it gets 1 star. That's kind of how this works here on the channel. And yeah, competitors to this are going to be things like the Traxxas Max, the Arrma Kraton, the Red Cat Racing, Valkyrie, maybe the Outcast 4S as well. So a few different trucks out there, and I do have a lot of experience with all those cars. I actually have all of them. Also have experience with its predecessor, which is the Skeeter 4S. So this is a little bit different. This is based a little bit more on the Synchro 4 platform, which is their 1/8 scale, more budget 4S buggy, and then this is basically the Truggy version of that. So yeah, let's get into the review. Electronics wise, the Kagama4 comes with the CT2S radio, kind of their entry-level budget radio. Just some basic adjustments: steering trim, steering dual rate, throttle percentage, on-off button. Takes 4 AA, 2.4 gigahertz. Nice little foam wheel, so it's an adequate radio. I wouldn't say it's particularly great, but pretty standard for a typical RTR type vehicle. Pulling off the body, you can see the rest of the electronics. We've got the Torex 135 amp ESC, pretty powerful ESC, actually a lot of programming options. I really like this ESC, probably one of the best ESCs that you can get in this class. Curon 725 motor. This is a 40 by 68 millimeter can motor, 2150 kV, 4-pole of course, and then you've got the CRHV 7225 servo. Decent specs on this thing. I think speed is, actually a little bit quicker than most. Torque is pretty good. Waterproof 25 tooth spline, so fairly standard, in that department, but pretty good overall, actually. Some of the earlier ones I found failed, but the later ones I have had lately have not been failing, so I think maybe they improved something. I don't know, or maybe I've just been driving better, but the servo is pretty good. Yeah, motor and electronics, I would say is, the best, or, one of the best motor combinations you can get. The servo is certainly adequate, maybe a little bit above average. The radio probably a little bit below average at this point, but overall, pretty good electronics package, certainly. Yeah, I think the electronics are pretty good. I'm going to get 4 stars out of 5. Above average, the radio is probably the one area I would consider upgrading the most. You'll get a little bit better performance, a little better latency, also a little bit more fine-tuning, I think, on the steering, especially on the dual rate side. You'll just get a little bit more adjustment. But yeah, overall, electronics are pretty good on this thing. For the price especially, I think you get a really nice package. The Kagama4 is based off the Synchro 4, so very similar platform. They did update some things, so obviously it has the wider hubs, the bigger wheels, more of a stadium truck style wheel. I think they're 2.8s or so. Yeah, so harder compound, wider tire as well. They did make some other improvements on the truck itself. So it's got the double wishbone or double Ackerman bar setup. So that is a nice little improvement. Definitely adds a little bit more durability there. Aluminum motor mounts. So the Synchro 4 had a plastic one. This one has 3 fixed positions, 13 tooth, 15 tooth, 17 tooth. Comes with 13 tooth out of the box. I do recommend going up to 15 tooth. I think that's going to get you better performance. And I didn't really notice any heat issues or anything like that. Composite shocks with nice little covers. They do have the aluminum cap covers here. The shock towers are a hybrid, semi-plastic, semi-metal, especially you can see here on the camber link attachment, so that adds more durability. Pivot ball suspension, of course, all metal drivetrain, which is really nice. CVAs in the front, dog bones in the rear, metal drivetrain even throughout the center of the vehicle, center differentials all throughout, so that's a pretty nice setup. Yeah, the truck overall I think is designed for durability. Tons of bracing all throughout, especially down the middle of the vehicle with the center tower, the plastic chassis braces down there, a lot of heavy duty composite pieces down there in the middle, so the chassis is not going to bend on this thing. I think it's very, very difficult considering it's not even a 70-75 chassis. Very, very durable truck. The wing even actually has been improved throughout the year, so the early Corally wings would tend to bend or break, but this has been holding up. Wing mount, it seems very sturdy. Nice wraparound bumpers as well. So overall, design-wise, this is built for beefiness. Not quite as many adjustments on like the shock mounting locations or camera mount locations, but overall, no adjustments on the camber links. But that has been designed for durability so that they don't break. So they are all composite. Shocks have had no issues. So these have been pretty durable, very heavy duty shocks, even though they are composite. So I think pretty good overall. Design wise, I'm going to get 4 stars. Any downsides, just not as many adjustments. Like I mentioned, more for bashing. Also a little bit harder to maintain. There's just tons of bracing throughout. So the name of the game is, heavy duty durability, but it does make it a little bit more difficult to work on. But overall, I do like the design. I think it's a very nice point. The body's pretty good. It has some roof rails, got some tethers for the body clips, so that works out fine. Overall, very nice truck. Aluminum axles throughout, aluminum serrated wheel nuts. So yeah, everything's pretty good on this. I'm gonna get 4 stars out of 5 in the design category. Out of the box, Kagama4 goes about 40 miles per hour, maybe 38, 39, depending on your battery and your conditions. But that's speed-wise. I do recommend, like I said, going up to the 15 tooth. I think you're get closer to 45 miles per hour out of the box. So that is an upgrade, well worth doing. And then maybe even consider changing the tires. These are more of a high-speed, semi-pavement, semi-dirt style all-terrain type tire. But if you're running on dirt, I do recommend maybe like Proline Badlands or something like that. Just get a little more traction, a little bit more rotation in the air if you're like doing stunts. So this is a pretty interesting truck because they had the Skeeter 4S, which to me was more like a stadium truck. It was not quite as wide, had the same tires, handled really well, definitely based off their 8th scale stuff, more adjustments, more tuning, that kind of thing. And then they came out with this, which is a widened Skeeter. So that is a mod I made to the Skeeter. I made it wider. They made it more bashable in my opinion, heavy duty body posts as well. So this thing is set up for bashing. I think it performs quite well, especially once you gear it up. Different tires will help it rotate in the air. It doesn't spin a whole ton in the air out of the box, but if you gear it up, especially if you put on bigger tires, it will definitely turn more into like a stunt truck. So that to me is kind of the personality of this thing. It is very wide. It is fairly short, sort of 8th scale buggy wheelbase, so it's almost like a perfect square. And even though out of the box, people don't really consider this a stunt truck, to me, that's actually more of the personality, especially once you get that, wheel speed and stuff like that. So performance-wise, I think this is really good. It handles quite well on the ground, set up for huge air as well. So again, a little bit of a stunt truck type personality. Suspension is really stiff, a lot of damping. Springs are reasonably strong. Performance-wise, I think this is really good. Motor and EC are very powerful. I'm going to get 4 stars in the performance. Steering is good. It is wider, so the scrub radius and stuff on this is, not as set up as much for turning, but that's pretty typical for this 4S class. Most of them kind of drive like this. I wish they had maybe more of a dirt style bias. To me, I drive almost exclusively on dirt, so this is more of a kind of an in-between street and dirt. But other than that, this is a great performing truck. Nothing has broken on my Kagama4. I took it to a BMX park, a few different BMX parks, sent it through the air, did double backflips, launched it super high, even went underwater for a bit there where I jumped it basically into a little mini lake there by the BMX park. Had it fully submerged, completely underwater. Upside down, I believe, as well. And I just dried off a day later. Everything was all nice and running. I didn't have to fix anything. So electronics are definitely waterproof. If you're wondering, you can submerge it. I would not recommend doing that on purpose, but if you accidentally screw up like I did, I don't think you have any issues. Some people have complained about the CVAs having this little metal band pop off and then the pins pop out. I have not experienced that. So I definitely did make sure the droop screws are set right. So, this thing does have proper droop. And I didn't experience that failure. Also, the B and C blocks are composite. The A and D blocks are metal. I did have one fail on my Synchro 4. I did not have one fail on the Kagama 4, and I haven't heard a whole lot of people breaking those, so I wouldn't say that's necessarily a weakness, but something I would consider, maybe upgrading if you're worried about that is getting the aluminum B and C blocks. That's kind of the one area I'm a little bit hesitant on just because I broke one on the Synchro 4, but like I said, didn't break on this. So durability-wise, this is super beefy, super tough. I would say it's probably one of the toughest 4S trucks out there, maybe as high as the Max, especially if I upgrade those B and C blocks, then I would feel pretty confident launching this there. Like I said, no issues with the CVAs. I probably land this thing on the tires, I guess, more than your average YouTuber, so I'm not maybe crashing this thing as hard, but I am setting this pretty big, you know. I think this thing is going up pretty high in the air as compared to what you typically will find from other channels. So I can't say that I'm not bashing it as hard, but maybe crashing a little bit less. So overall, durability is very high on this thing. I'm gonna get 4 stars. The Max probably still is the king. I don't really have any reservations when I crash that thing wrong. This thing, you know, I do double check it, you know, if I land it like super bad. But so far, everything's held up. The body's held up. Roof rails, everything seems fine. Wing has not broken. Arms, all that kind of stuff seem very durable. So overall, yeah, definitely one of the strong points of this truck is its durability. Team Corally is definitely a smaller brand here in the US. Not a whole ton of hobby shops are going to carry the brand or spare parts and stuff like that, but they did recently get picked up by AMain, so I think that will help support quite a bit. I don't think AMain's stocking like everything in terms of spare parts wise as of today, but I could expect that to continue to grow. They also have very good parts availability there in Belgium, so if you ever need a part, you can definitely get it. Most other brands, if you need a part, it may or may not actually be in stock or back ordered or whatever, but I've never had an issue getting parts that I need for Team Corally, so I think, again, that's a high part. They do have a lot of good support as well. They have these one-page manuals where they kind of detail how you change the diff fluids or service the shocks, all that kind of stuff. Kind of basic things, which I think is helpful to somebody new. They also have videos as well. They even have a video on how to upgrade the Kagama 4 if you want more performance, durability, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, support maintenance wise, I want to give it a higher rating than before. I used to give it 2 stars in this area because it was pretty hard to find parts in the US. You would have to definitely order it online, and maybe not all the stores carry it, but you can definitely get whatever you need. If you need to, you can always go overseas, but they are carried by AMain, which I think is a huge improvement and should bode well for this brand. So overall, support and maintenance, I'm gonna get 3 stars. Average rating, it's not above average, I don't think, quite yet. It's also a little bit harder to work on. For example, like adjusting the motor mesh. Fair amount of work. You basically have to remove the center thing, these 2 braces. You basically have to pull out the whole motor mount and then adjust it. So that was a bit more work. So yeah, work-wise, this is not the simplest thing to work on, but there's a lot of help out there, so I think you can get the information you need. So support and maintenance, 3 stars. At $419, the value on this thing is actually pretty good. The Armas are, I think, $450 at the time of this video. The Max is over $500, I think $530 or $550. But the Red Cat Racing Valkyrie is an amazing value at $300 for a 4S monster truck. So overall, value-wise, this definitely has some upgrades over your typical 4S monster truck. It's got the all-metal drivetrain, the big bore shocks, the aluminum chassis. So it's pretty well equipped, I would say. Even though it's not the cheapest, it does have a lot of nice components that a lot of the other brands don't have. Radio is a little bit down spec, but the ECU motor and servo are all pretty good. So yeah, value-wise, I'm gonna give 4 stars out of 5. I think if the Valkyrie weren't around at $300, or you could even get it cheaper for a while over Christmas at like $250 or something, I would say this is probably a 5-star rating. But yeah, definitely one of the stronger suits of the Kagama 4. You get what you pay for and a little bit more, especially when you're comparing to some of the other brands out there. This is a very good value. Obviously, everything in this class is typically all composite shocks, composite chassis, composite drivetrain, but this one has got metal parts and a little bit more extra that they're throwing in compared to most brands. So overall, in the value category, I'm definitely giving it above average rating, 4 stars. So what's the verdict on the Kagama 4? Those of you who don't know, there's also a Kagama 6, which is 6S Truggy, longer, wider, bigger, more powerful, all that kind of stuff. And this is kind of the more entry level. I would say it's really an entry level, like, super low-end truck. Is actually a pretty good truck overall, more mid-range, but I think price-wise a little bit lower than your typical 4S truck. So very good value, very good durability, very good electronics. I think across the board, this is one of the better buys out there. I wouldn't say it's the best in like every category, and it's definitely not the worst in any category. But yeah, this is a solid truck overall. I think they really came out with something that is more affordable, but has that high bashability that, you know, you would expect for a more expensive vehicle. And the way it's equipped is actually pretty good as well. I do think it does require a couple of little improvements out of the box. I would definitely go to 15-tooth pinion. That's like $10. Well worth it to get, you know, unleash the whole performance of this truck and get a little bit more speed. And if you want to stun it, you know, bigger tires, a little more traction under, I think is also well worth upgrading. But other than that, you know, very solid truck. I can't think of anything that's really like a weakness on this truck. I don't think it really has a weakness. Maybe, you know, the CVAs, just keep an eye on them. But honestly, I never had any issues with that, and I don't even like double check it anymore. I just assume everything's fine. So Kagama4, great truck, especially at the price. I'm happy to see the brand continue to grow here in the US, and I think they're making an impact and people are starting to take notice of this brand. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any thoughts, throw them down in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe buttons. Look for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.